We see a young couple named Jay and Hannah. They are seen making out with each other when Hannah stops Jay. The duo have been dating for over a year, but Hannah wants them to only have sex after marriage. Jay is stressed by this, but respects the wishes of Hannah because they would be getting married after graduation. Jay leaves, and Hannah decides to think about her relationship with Jay. She sleeps on the bed when a bullet-shaped metal ripped through her ceiling and pierces through her floor. She gets close to the item when a green light emanates from it and enters Hannah as she experiences intense arousal. The following day, we see Jay and his friend in the library. They talk about their lives, and Hannah is brought up. Carl, who is the name of Jay's friend, asks about how they have been dating for a year and have no sex. It seems that Carl had dated Hannah before, but since she didn't give in to his advances, he broke up with her. Just then, Hannah comes into the library in search of Jay. She suddenly kisses Jay passionately, making Carl and the others uncomfortable. Carl and the other people around them leave the place. Hannah asks Jay to sleep with her as Jay is surprised. Jay pushes Hannah back as she comes back to her senses. She tells Jay to stay far away from her. She leaves in search of another guy. She sees Carl at the other side as she looks at him with her eyes full of lust. She gets closer to him and kisses him. Carl says that he is dating her friend named Lisa, but Hannah brushes it off. Carl gives in to his pleasures as he seriously makes out with Hannah. Jay is seen in the lab with his professor named Huguro. Huguro sees the dull look on Jay's face and asks him what the problem was. Jay explains what happened between himself and Hannah and how Hannah suddenly came at him. Huguro says that Jay shouldn't underestimate the power of estrogen in females. He says that Hannah may have changed her mind and finally decided to have intercourse with him. Jay goes outside with an assured mind that Hannah still likes him. He reaches the car park when he sees Hannah going away with a footballer named David. Jay doesn't understand this as he follows them. In the evening, we the duo in a room. David tells Hannah that he needs his energy for a big game the next day. Hannah doesn't listen as she undresses herself. They start to kiss as Hannah starts to absorb David's body into hers, as if they were morphing together. Just then, Jay opens the door and sees Hannah sleeping on the bed alone. He wakes her up and asks her to explain the situation. She sacks him and closes the door. Jay doesn't give up and waits by her window. Hannah pleads with the parasite inside her to let her be. She then gets the urge of lust as she dresses and leaves to get a new male to devour. She leaves as Jay uses this opportunity to enter the house. He sees David's clothes, but David himself is nowhere to be found. He sees the item that pierced the building and picks it up. Hannah is seen outside. A man approaches her as she gets into his car. They go to an alleyway as Hannah absorbs the man into herself. Jay takes the object he found in Hannah's room to Huguro. Huguro takes it and plans to do some experiments on it. Jay meets with Lisa, who explains that she hadn't seen Carl since the morning and is scared that he might have gone back Hannah. Lisa goes to the washroom and meets Hannah cleaning up herself. They talk for a while when Lisa complains she hadn't seen Carl since the morning. Hannah suddenly feels the urge of lust towards Lisa as she kisses her. Lisa pulls back as she calls Hannah a creep. Hannah begins to cry because she is forced to do things she doesn't want to. She breaks the mirror and takes a shard of glass to stab herself. She stops at the last moment when her rationality returns. A detective approaches Jay and tells him that David was supposed to get to a game the day before, but was nowhere to be found. He further says that Hannah was the last person that was seen with David. Jay asks the detective why he is telling him all this. The detective says that Hannah doesn't have the strength of a guy who is twice bigger than her. The detective then says that Jay's fingerprints was found on David's cloths. He then deduces a theory that because Jay couldn't control his jealousy, he went ahead and killed David. Huguro does his experiments and realizes that the DNA in the item doesn't match any life form on Earth. He does some search online and sees an article saying that men have been missing in the past, when a similar item fell to the ground. Jay is taken to the police station as he explains that the item he found at Hannah's place might be causing her to do such things. Hannah fits her next victim. We see a cop in a car also following her. He gets closer and hears the man screaming. The policeman sees the man being absorbed into Hannah. The absorbed man asks for help as the police shoots Hannah. The man's half body falls to the ground as Hannah also falls unconscious. Huguro comes to the station and explains his findings. He further says that since the DNA couldn't be found on Earth, it might have been from an alien species. Just then, the cop that shot Hannah comes in and tells them what had happened. Jay rushes to the hospital Hannah is being kept after hearing she was shot. Hannah is seen on the operating table. The doctors are surprised as she is healing. She awakens as the doctors flee. One of the doctors is stuck as Hannah tries to seduce him. Jay and the others arrive and are seen behind the door. The doctor trap resists the approach of Hannah as the Huguro says that Hannah cannot harm her victim if they do not lust after her. This discovery is proved right as Hannah is seen mad at throwing items away. She falls due to exhaustion. Jay wants to go inside because he believes that Hannah wouldn't do anything bad to him. He goes inside and sneaks the doctor out. He then goes back inside and locks himself up with Hannah. Hannah wakes up and advances towards Jay. They start to make out as Jay goes all the way. They satisfy each other as we see the alien entity come out of Hannah with a white light emitting from its body. The alien phases through the ceiling and goes away. The lesson this movie tells us is that for centuries humans have followed their instinct, leading them to mate and reproduce. But the most powerful need of all is the need of love. This is Watch Film Recaps. Stay safe.